Hi, Mama.
Hi, Lizzie. How are you today?
I'm good. Hi to you in Alaska.
Yes, lovely place.
So today's yoga question is that all yoga books talk about discipline, the concept of discipline. What is discipline? And what is the difference between discipline and ambition?
In the second book of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is a concept called tapas, which comes from a root meaning to burn, and it's often translated as discipline, that we are to burn with the fire of discipline. We are to understand that the practice of yoga bears fruit through discipline. But I think that we misunderstand perhaps what that means. So discipline has nothing to do with force. Sort of the mother saying, you're going to sit at that piano and play for 30 minutes whether you like it or not. Form of discipline. It has that feeling. When we hear the word discipline, it is not a warm and fuzzy word. It is a cold, gray, hard word. And so when we take on that mood, that milieu around the word of discipline, we have the belief, I think, frequently that we have to make ourselves get on the mat. And human nature, or on the meditation cushion. And human nature is such that whenever someone tries to force us to do something, there's an inherent 2-year-old that metaphorically stamps the foot and says, I don't care, you can't make me. You can't make me. Or children say, you're not the boss of me. You can't make me. And we have that as adults, and it's just thinly veiled. And sometimes not so thinly. And so we have, people often say, how do you get yourself to practice every day? And that says to me, first I say to them rather, I say, do you feel better after you do your practice? Always. They say, I always feel better when I go to my class. I always feel better when I get on the mat. So then why do you think it is that you have to fight with yourself every single day to get on the mat? If you know that when you're done, it's always going to be better.
Yeah.
Whether it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes. And if you were a rat in a laboratory, you would learn where the cheese was and you would never hesitate. You would know and you would go to the cheese and there would be no second guessing it. So there's some hidden connotation or emotional coloring that we have to that. And I think that that resistance is created by a belief. We formulate the language, I have to get on my yoga mat, I should get on my yoga mat, which makes it an exterior experience of have to. And we don't trust that we could just lay out our mat in the corner of the room and that all we need to do is to get on the mat and lie there and take 3 breaths with awareness. And then if we got up, the world would be a better place, our day would be a better place, we would feel better. And so the attachment that we have is to the belief. It's not a resistance to the practice. It's more of an attachment to the belief that the yoga practice must, for some reason, be longer or be more advanced or be some certain sequence. And so we dig our feet in a bit. And then we have all these excuses like, well, let me just quote unquote check my email. Or let me just do a couple things. Or let me clean up the room first. Or let me, I don't know, whatever it is. Because there's a part of us that isn't willing to consciously nurture ourselves. Because I think we're often raised to think that producing something that people can see and hear about and know about. To finish a task in our world or our work and our home is more worthy than something that doesn't seem to show in the outside. Mm-hmm. So we make up excuses. One of the conversations I have with people about discipline is, what if you had the same attitude about brushing your teeth that you have about getting on the mat or the meditation cushion? What if it was you woke up and you set your alarm early to get up to do some practice before work? So it goes off, you set snooze, after snooze you go back to sleep, and you wake up and you say, I'm going to go, I know, I'll go to that noontime group teeth brushing class at work. So then it gets 11:30 and the class is at noon and you're hungry. And you know what, I'm going to stop by that toothbrushing studio that I've been meaning to try out on the way home from work and just do a class. Mm-hmm. And then you're tired and you're traffic and you're late. And so, no, I'm just going to go home. The minute I walk in the door, I'm going to get on, go in there and brush my teeth. Yeah. And then you're hungry or you're tired or you get caught up in watching something on TV. And then you say, you know what? I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and brush my teeth. Mm-hmm. And so there are parts of our lives where we don't fight. We don't fight brushing our teeth. No. We get in bed, we're about to go to sleep, and think, at least for me, oh my God, I'm sure my dentist will know if I don't floss, I have to get up and floss. So that's something that we had to learn, and we do daily, 2 times a day, probably, maybe 3. And yet we don't fight it. So there's something else going on that maybe yoga practice seems in some part of our minds like an extra. So I think, or not as necessary, or we can squeak by. And we have excuses. I don't know what to do. I don't remember the sequence. What if I hurt myself? What poses should I? And all of those are just exactly excuses. So one of the ways that I help people, I think, get past that is to conceive a discipline. It's not as something hard or something that you're doing because you're supposed to, or you should, or you know it's good for you. But that discipline is not about force, it's about consistency. Mm-hmm. And if your focus is on consistency, okay, today I'm going to do triangle pose on my mat. Mm-hmm. Or Mr. Unger used to say about this issue, he would say, do 3 poses every day. And that helped me a number of times. I'd just get on the mat and say, okay, I quote unquote to myself, I just have to do 3 poses. Mm-hmm. So I get on the mat, and by the time you're in the middle of the first pose, you've forgotten that. Because most of the resistance, the inertia, is the initiation. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Initiation of the practice. Once, and the same thing happened when I used to meet my friend at the track to run laps, running around in circles. I don't know why that was a break from my life, but it was. And the 2 things that got me there in the day before cell phones, to meet her at 7:30 or something, or 8 at the park to run, there's no way to get her. It was too late. She was on her way. So having a buddy to practice with, maybe you can do it over Skype, or maybe you can actually meet someone once a week to practice. And then you got that commitment to someone else, which helps you. And so once I would get there, the first thing that sometimes got me there was, oh, it's too late to call her, was I would get there, and the hardest lap was always the first one. Mm-hmm. And so my strategy was, and she really admired this, we didn't come there and stretch and chat and talk, or she finished her coffee or whatever. I just walked out there and said hi, and we just started running. Mm-hmm. And love that. We just jumped in and got wet, and we would run 1 lap, and then we would run 2. Let's say we were going to run 2 laps or 3 laps, whatever, around this very large track. It was 0.8 of a mile. And then we'd do 3 and we'd feel really good. Let's run another one. Mm-hmm. It was, or somebody would say, that's enough. I can't make it that. I can't make it, 3 laps. It's almost 2.5 miles. That's enough for today, or whatever we did. But some of these things will help you. It's about shifting your perspective. And when you travel, what I think is a great idea is you put on the very top of your top layer of your suitcase, put your yoga mat, so that when you open up your suitcase wherever you are, the first thing you think about is, where am I going to put my yoga mat so I can practice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. So what's the difference between ambition and discipline? Because ambition for many of us has gotten us to places that we like in life, getting into schools, finishing degrees, accomplishing things. And how do those two relate in terms of yoga practice?
To me, consistency means that I am committed, which is what I call discipline, really. Because to do something consistently is a high form of discipline, mm-hmm. like brushing your teeth or whatever. So consistency, to me, the victory, the success, the goal is met when I step on my mat. Everything that happens after that is icing on the cake. But to ambition, it's striving for a specific goal, not initiating. It's not about just initiating, moving toward the goal. It's obtaining it, having the ambition to obtain a certain thing. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing to obtain once you step on the mat.
So does ambition have any place in your yoga practice?
I think it has a lot more place in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That you, at least it's true for me, I can only speak for me, that in the beginning, when I was in the honeymoon stage, I had a lot of attachments, images, ambitions, if you can pluralize that word, about getting a pose, about learning, oh, this is so great. Now I can do elbow stand at the wall. Now I want to do it in the center. And there was always the implied, unexpressed thought next, because then I'll really have it. Mm-hmm. And then I would get it in the center. And then I would have, and now I want to do scorpion pose in the center. Mm-hmm. And now I just don't want to do scorpion. I want to put my toes on my head in the center. Mm-hmm. And I like to say, the same process happened with handstand at the wall. Now I want to get it 2 legs up at once. Now I want to get it in the center. And I remember the day that I actually fulfilled, quote unquote, that ambition and did yoga handstand in the center of the room and got the balance. And I was up in the middle of the room. I was with a whole group of people at a yoga workshop, and we were hanging out afterwards doing yoga. Mm-hmm. And I started screaming at the top of my lungs in handstand because I was so excited that I had gotten it. But then what I like to tell people is, what happens after you get handstand in the center of the room? Nothing. You still have to go home and wash the dishes. Mm-hmm. So ambition is about achieving. It's not about enjoying the process of unfolding and learning. And I think it's not necessarily a little of dash of it, like a little salt in the soup can help it. It's not bad to have goals. Ambition to me, though, implies a ruthless attachment to those goals. Mm-hmm. That I am not a good person, a good student, an advanced student, or whatever. I want to be somewhere else. Ambition says I want to be somewhere else. And to me, discipline/consistency means I want to be fully right here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great place to end, Mom. I love that distinction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoy speaking to you from far away over the magical internet, which I don't even know how it works, but I'm glad it does. And
it's wonderful. So,
I look forward to talking to you again soon. Namaste.
Yes, namaste, Mama. If you enjoyed listening to this conversation, you might be interested in an 8-episode audio course that my mom and I are recording. The format is based on the newly released 2nd edition of Mom's book, Living Your Yoga, which includes 3 new chapters on relaxation, empathy, and worship. The course is already available for pre-sale on Mom's website, judithhansenlassiter.com. Thank you so much for listening.